If you had to, now that you've kind of been outside and then inside too, teaching traders and then kind of be on the outside, learning how to trade, going live, and now, doing your own trading every day, what kind of recommendations would you give people that are watching this video that want to get into trading, like a complete beginner, and then to a person who might have experience but just isn't getting it yet, doesn't have the consistency or is losing money?
Well, I would say there's two spectrums of traders. One, similar to me, I'm very objective when I'm out of the market. That's why when it sets up, I'm ready, I'm actively trading. Some traders I've seen, it's more of they get into the rhythm or flow by being in the market. That's how they stay engaged. So they're trading both sides of the market, pretty much just the flow of what's going on. Doesn't really matter a larger scale or not. That system or that style didn't really work for me, and it's not something that you really necessarily get to choose. I think it's a personality thing, and you're not going to know what style is going to fit you until you just start trying things out. And from the coaching, we'll see what works, what doesn't work on a daily basis, and we can start forming where you should probably go from there, depending on your actual results and where you feel most comfortable in your actual trading. And you'll start to see that when you start trading. There's really no way to determine that before, I don't believe, because most people don't have a realistic expectation of what their personality necessarily even is. You'll really start to learn when you're under fire in the markets and the pressure's on. That's when you'll start to understand which one you more or less are. So I wouldn't try to I wouldn't say I'm going to be like this, I'm going to do this. It's however you perform in the markets, add on to your strengths and see where you feel most comfortable.
Very good. That's something that I think I don't talk about a lot on the English side, where you have to be self-aware. If you, it's like people who pay for a gym membership but then never go to the gym because they're lazy. It's kind of the same. What else is in your notes there, Stino?
Talk about just the personal coaching at DTA. Kind of give a plug to that. Like, we do coach, and I would say about 80-90% of the curriculum and what we teach is about 80-90% to get you there, but that last 10% is really personal and kind of what I was just talking about. Like, you gotta find your own style. We'll help you find it, but at the end of the day, it's gotta be a little bit unique, because you're not gonna have confidence in trading your own money, real cash in real time, unless you have your own twist to it a little bit.
How would you say you found your personal style?
Just experience, whatever works actually. So I go back and, I was trading more or less in what I would call a vacuum. And I would notice that my down draws of the market would be when I didn't understand the bigger picture. I would take good trades, or what I thought were good trades, and I'd say, why doesn't this work? I'd go back, and again, that's part of the hours you put in. Okay, I didn't know this, no one told me this. This is just something that you kind of determine by yourself, by the work you put in. I noticed I do better when I trade with the overall market. So that got introduced in my trading. I put a bigger chart on there, I experimented with it, and there's always challenges when you put something new into your trading. I would say most of the time the results actually get worse before they get better. But I did realize what the problem was. I was just trading in a vacuum. So that's where I developed a bigger time frame, really helped me out, and I don't get caught into what I think is a good trade that is completely against what the market's been doing possibly all week, possibly all month. And in reality, we've been just on a tear since the last 3-5 years. So depending on the time scale you're looking at, really affects what type of trades and what type of trader you'll be at.
What's now that you're kind of inside DTA, has that helped, by the way, or no?
Yeah,
you trading?
Yeah, it definitely has. Seeing other people's styles, seeing that not one style will work for any individual person. I work with plenty of students, and they're all a little bit different. Some lean towards my personality, but that doesn't mean that seeing the other side and helping people through those decisions of being more in the flow of the market helps as well. I'll see plenty of opportunities that I could participate in the day, but I've just had the experience that that's not me. I don't perform well. I actually perform better and more objective when I stay out of the market and play the bigger idea. But I have tried to play the other side of it. Me personally, it doesn't work out too well.
Was it worth quitting school?
Yeah, 100%. Stress levels, funny, stress levels actually go down trading real capital in a competition every day, but that just speaks to, that pivot that I made, taking those, classes, tests, thinking about where I'll be in 3 to 5 years. It just built up a lot of stress, and I knew that it wasn't the right path, and I was pretty young, and it was easy to make the pivot. Not everyone has that. Some people have families, children, and already set in their jobs, and they have debt that they've built up from buying houses, cars, and I learned at an early enough age, and I was bold enough to make the pivot to where I didn't have those complications, and I could put those hours in. But regardless, there's going to be sacrifices. Mine just happened to be a little bit easier, I'd say, than most because of the age. That's a real factor, but it doesn't mean that it's not possible for anyone who actually wants to do it. I think the problem more is that people don't put in the work, and they don't understand.
You're lazy.
That it's an art, craft, and it's a profession. You're going against professionals. First time you jump into the market, you are going to get most likely run over, and that's completely to be expected. If I went out on an NFL field, I would get crushed. Over time, I'll get better, and that's kind of how I like to think about it. Now I've been in, let's say, quote unquote, the league for a year, doing much better than my first day on the field. So
now that you have finished about a year of consistency, and I never talk about how much money people make and things like that, because at the end of the day, I think it's really relative and subjective, right? I think it's obvious that a lot of us, you can make a lot of money in the market, but obviously if you don't know what you're doing, you're gonna lose all of your money or even more, right? So it's important that you understand that. So for me, the key is consistency, because my personal opinion, I don't know what you think, Austin, if you make $1 a day, eventually you're gonna get to $50 or $500 a day, but you have to do $1 a day first, right? So that's the idea, and that's why at DTA we don't talk about the money. I talk more about the consistency, because as soon as you think about money or you connect it with your results, then what happens is your emotions get involved, and obviously everybody's terrified to lose money, and that's why I think we've probably had a little bit higher success rate than most people. But now that you've been had a year worth of consistency, what does your day look like now when it comes to trading? Like, do you still practice? Do you still like do stuff on the weekends? Like, how does that look on a day-to-day basis now?
Okay, so a day-to-day basis, like I said, I have a bit bigger view. So even when the markets aren't open, I'm generating ideas of what could happen, scenarios, and then seeing what actually plays out, trying to have the least amount of bias as possible, but reading what the market does. So if something's not lining up, that's why I like to stay out of the market, because I'll notice when things occur, and again, I say a little bit more objective when that happens. To the point of just the money aspect of trading, you really have to be detached, and it has to be strictly about the markets. If you get any kind of involvement with the money, that usually leads to emotional decisions. Now, there's still going to be emotional decisions, but they're going to be a lot less frequent. You're going to have a lot less mistakes if it's actually money that you are afforded to lose. Do not be trading money you cannot afford to lose. Not only just because it's risky and you're probably going to lose it, but you're going to lose it because you're thinking about the money. So in terms of scaling, I wouldn't recommend anyone scaling until you're very, very consistent, because you've had days, weeks, months, and even years potentially of, only looking at the markets for what it is, not because I'm making 4 points a day, 3 points a day. It's strictly about what the market's doing, and you are consistently showing yourself that you can make money. So that's when you start scaling.
Why, this is just, I don't know if I asked you this before or not, but why DTA and not like stocks or options or Forex fraud or cryptos or?
Okay, so futures, there's benefits to it. There's benefits to, I would say it's less important about what you're doing, just make sure you're very specialized in what you're doing. Stocks, I do feel like there's sometimes liquidity issues, which simply just means that there isn't always two sides of the market. You can't always get in and out of the market as you wish. As in futures, markets are so big that there is no issues with that. There's always two sides of the market. The market makers, the spreads are very, very small. So pretty much anytime you want to get out or in, it's available to you. That's not always available in some of these small equities, or maybe you've seen penny stocks or something like that. As far as Forex, never had experience with those. never really looked into them. So I've just always just started with futures. Now that didn't really, I didn't necessarily pick that. It's kind of what I kind of just got introduced to, and that's my specialty now. So there's advantages to both sides, I would say.
Flame keeps growing. Let us know if you guys have any questions. See you, my man. Best of luck. You won't need it. She's making that money. Let us know if you guys have any questions. Don't forget to subscribe. We were gonna go kind of check out Amsterdam, but unfortunately the rain happened, which has been apparently a frequent thing here in Amsterdam, in case you guys are wondering. So, we'll see you next time.